Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, Laurel and Hardy, Abbott and Costello, and the Three Stooges. All legends that have played huge parts in the formative years of cinematic comedy. Although they all relied on the core principles they developed in vaudeville, they found wider audiences and new experimental ways to showcase comedy on film, which holds up to even this day, delighting and inspiring new generation after generation. Then in 2012, they had the audacity to make a new Three Stooges movie, long after the original Stooges were dead. And it was alright. I mean, it wasn't great. In fact, some of the over-sexualization and shoehorned cameos were just painful.
Hiya, Snook. I got your present.
Ow! It's really bad when your 3-year-old film seems just as dated as your 70-year-old film.
But they did get some great actors to play the Stooges, including Will Sasso, who is known for his rendition of Curly in the Mad TV sketches. And when the jokes and references worked, they really worked.
Hey, you're in luck. I got a donut remover right here.
What's a donut remover?
It's one of these. Donut remover.
And it certainly wasn't as bad as when they tried to remake a Laurel and Hardy.
Deep within a tomb of the ancient pyramids, a powerful pharaoh was laid to rest until that day when the living dead would be awakened to rule again.
Standing! So it raises the question, do we need this? Can this particular brand of slapstick comedy be done today? And if so, can it be done without invoking anyone else's name?
Well, that question may, or may not, have been answered by the Zucker brothers with their 1992 movie, Brain Donors. Yes, the writers responsible for parody masterpieces like Airplane, Naked Gun, and Hot Shots decided they were tired of making movies based off one thing and decided to make one based off everything. Starring a trio of bumbling, amoral go-getters out to make their fortune in the world.
Aren't those numbers clicking by awfully fast?
You're probably a speed reader.
Well, you got me there.
The VH box itself says it's in the tradition of Abbott and Costello, the Three Stooges, and the Reagan administration.
Well, it's too late. I was broke, uneducated, and mentally unstable way before I watched this movie.
Our movie starts with the first member of our comedic trio waking up to start his day. This is Jacques, and as you can see, he's basically Harpo from the Marx Brothers, which is why it freaked me out when he first talked.
I'm late. I have to mow Mrs. Oglethorpe's lawn.
Or with a name like Jacques, you'd expect him to be, I don't know, French, and that most of the comedy would stem from the language or cultural barrier. But nope, he's just some dude. Well, not just any dude. Jacques is played by Bob Nelson, a distinguished stage comedian who specializes in rubber face and prop comedy. It seems odd that we haven't seen him in a lot of other starring roles, considering he was in a comedy troupe with Eddie Murphy. Regardless, Jacques is actually the shining gem of this film. He can get a laugh from his ingenuity, or just sparse, but well-placed bit of dialogue.
And gentlemen, that spells cash with a capital K. You should go back to school.
I hated teaching.
Anyway, after the death of a wealthy philanthropist, Jacques is sent to retrieve Roland T. Flackpfizer, played surprisingly by John Turturro, as a sleazy ambulance-chasing lawyer who's more than willing to represent both parties in a case.
Sir, you have caused grievous harm to my clients and their vehicle. And through your negligence, this child has suffered severe neck injuries.
Leave me alone!
Stick with me, kid, and you can afford enough Nintendo software to sink a battleship.
I can sue my parents?
I sued mine.
Ow, my neck!
Corruptible youth.
To think, in just a year, he went from Barton Fink to just plain Fink.
This woman is with child.
By coincidence, Jacques happens to run into Flackpfizer, and then rushes him off into the cab of, more coincidentally, a former client of Flackpfizer.
I'm Rocco Melanchek.
You were my attorney in my divorce case. Until you started dating my wife during the trial. And you got the court to double the alimony request she originally made.
Well, you didn't want her to keep seeing me in cheap motels, did you? For God's sake, man, she was your wife.
To appease the disgruntled Rocco, Flackpfizer agrees to hire him to his non-existent staff, so the two can split whatever money they can get out of Mrs. Oglethorpe.
Ah, Mr. Oglethorpe, how well I remember him.
Well, turns out one of the main stipulations of the will is that Oglethorpe used the money to start up a ballet company in her late husband's name.
Why would anyone want to be the head of a ballet company?
And the director of the company should receive $500,000 a year salary.
I'll take the job.
So, Flak is appointed the director of the newly formed ballet company.
And we'll be the first company performing ballet for the hard of hearing. We'll have the ballerinas wear wooden shoes.
Which doesn't sit well with Laszlo, Oglethorpe's full-time legal advisor, who we the audience are supposed to hate, because he gets angry when frauds try to take over his job.
Protest! This is most irregular!
Edmund, please be careful.
And he doesn't like getting covered in Easter basket stuffing either. Not like us normal people.
I demand this man be dismissed immediately! Jacques, you're working for me now. For what reason? Does it make you angry? Yes! That's a good enough reason for me.
First order of business is to try and get ballet's biggest celebrity, the great Volare, to sign with the company. Which goes about as well as you can guess.
Dance with the Oglethorpe Flak Ballet Company, and you can name your price.
I don't dance for the money.
No, you dance so you can give private performances of Wolf and the Peter. However, Jacques just happens to be friends with a couple of dancers who just might be able to impress Mrs. Oglethorpe.
When's the wedding?
There won't be one, unless I can find a job dancing.
I am going to get you an audition with Roland T. Flakpfizer, ballet director.
You could do that?
Sure, they're like this.
And this is why Rocco is the heart of this movie. He is literally the catalyst for all the emotional investment.
This creep bothering you?
No. She's quite delightful, thank you.
At the start of the movie, I really didn't feel bad for Jacques because he had a job he seemed to like. And Flakpfizer, well, he's just an asshole. But Rocco, he's broke and working 5 other jobs because he got screwed over by Flakpfizer worse than his ex-wife did.
Enjoy driving a cab?
No, as soon as I get my driver's license, I'm quitting. I mean, apart from the cab, I'm a pool man, I perform liposuction, I've got my own toupee business. My motto, something that size should have hair on it.
He's the only one in a bad situation that wasn't his fault, so we want to see him get something out of this deal. But then he turns around and uses his newfound position to convince Flakpfizer to hire them instead of Volare. It's the makeup of the classic golden-hearted tramp. Rocco was played by the sadly late Mel Smith, an actor-writer probably more recognized for his work in British media. Several sketch shows that equate to the cultural significance of Saturday Night Live to Americans, and a good chunk of it spent playing opposite Mr. Bean himself, Rowan Atkinson.
There we have a very nice hat. Here's a little bracelet.
Mel was also very interested in the theater and jumped at the opportunity to direct. First commercials, and then movies like The Tall Man starring Jeff Goldblum, and even the, quote, American Mr. Bean movie. In any case, Mel adds some desperately needed sincerity and charm to this movie. Besides, there's just something about a British man wearing Packers colors that just tickles me. And while it might have been foolish to make a deal before seeing them dance, how bad could they...
That's my 3rd monocle this week. I simply must stop being so horrified.
However, it turns out Laszlo has acquired the talents of the great Volare, who proceeds to Barishna cockblock our young couple.
If Alan isn't in the company, I won't be either.
Neither will I. That's a victory for all mankind.
Having Volare in Laszlo's camp is really messing with the modern life Rocco tried to give them. However, they both agree that such a high-profile gig, even if they're separated, can only help them in the long run. By the way, have you noticed that I haven't mentioned either of their names yet? It doesn't really matter, they're just a prop. Something that allows us to root for our heroes because they decided to align themselves with the pure-hearted innocent lovers instead of the pompous sexual predator.
I hope I'm interrupting something. Volare, you know it's not polite to drool in public.
Just look at them while the others perform a bit. Not only are they not acknowledging what's happening 2 feet in front of them, They're not even moving. Still a better love story than Twilight. And so production of the company's premiere show goes into full swing.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Flakpfizer.
Morning.
Morning, Mr. Blackpfizer.
Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Blackpfizer.
Morning.
Morning, Mr. Blackpfizer.
Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Blackpfizer.
The end of another grueling day.
And there you have it. That's my favorite Flakpfizer joke.
I actually hate this character. I find Flakpfizer to be insufferable. Aside from being a despicable human, he acts like whatever comes out of his mouth is this shimmering pearl of wit. But most of the time it's this out-of-nowhere string of sex jokes that just fall flat.
Please call me what everyone else calls me, your royal sex machine.
Whatever you call it. Flogging the carrot, polishing the cue stick, choking the chicken, clearing the snorkel. But I didn't come back here to rehash good times. Oh, Lillian, you make me feel just like a natural woman. Ow!
Horrifying hoity-toity rich people is only funny when you offend their sensibilities as pompous snoots, not their basic human shame. And don't get me wrong, John Turturro is an amazing actor, and is completely dedicated to this terrible, terrible character. Like I said, he was Barton Fink a year prior. Every movie critic in 1992 must have needed a chiropractor because of the whiplash between these two movies.
In fact, I'll just say it. I like his character in the Transformer movies better.
In the first movie, Seymour Simmons is a pompous, aggressive, and overreaching government agent who literally gets pissed on for his actions. Next time we see him, he's a defunct agent running a conspiracy website out of the back of a deli, obsessing over the Transformers, and willing to do anything to get his old glory back.
I am directly below enemy scrotum.
These are classic comedy setups and motives. Are they well explored? Well, better than in this movie, I think. I'm just saying, when your comedic lead hijacks an important press conference, you should say, "Oh my god," not, "Oh my god."
Flakpfizer, a man's man. But I like women a lot more.
I've been asking myself, why am I supposed to be rooting for this phony, conniving, money-grubbing scumbag instead of the legitimate, conniving, money-grubbing scumbag? Well, at least Flakpfizer doesn't hide dead hookers in Mrs. Oglethorpe's bedroom.
Why, you're not Lillian.
You're gonna spank me?
We can start there.
Huh, that dead hooker is a bit too fresh. I'm just joking. Someone had to eventually. No, it was just a regular old nymphomaniac planted by the evil lawyer to make Flakpfizer look bad, because all of the obvious sexual harassment wasn't obvious enough. Of course, textbook shenanigans take place, and the whole thing backfires on Laszlo.
I want you out of my house this instant!
But then the scene ends with undercover brother delivering a background check on Flakpfizer, showing that he's guilty of several accounts of fraud. So catching him banging someone was plan A, and finding a legitimate record of unlawful conduct was plan B? And of course, the emergency plan was murder.
Kill wealthy dowager.
If this movie made any sense, they'd both be fired. I know you caught me assessing assets, and then I smashed your skull in, but I'll know you'll be on my side again when I show you this piece of paper. So Mrs. Oglethorpe is rushed to the hospital so they can work in a comedy bit about being doctors.
Yeah, hit me. I'll play these.
Minimum week, 3 hearts.
Needs a pair of kidneys.
Then they call the cops so they can work in a comedy bit about being arrested.
You can make one call.
Hello, Sportsline? Steamer. Hi, this is Rocco. Am I on the air?
Then they toss him in a cell so they can... Hey, is this starting to sound redundant?
A bit.
But it turns out that our young couple were able to post bail.
How did you do that?
I used my severance pay. Valari fired me. Seems I wasn't appreciative enough.
He can't do that.
Nah, he's done it all right.
And Valari's vowed to blackball us from ever dancing for a major ballet company.
That's not fair.
At last, our boys have a righteous mission to get these crazy kids on their rightful place on that stage. Petty revenge is just a bonus.
Lobstergram for Mr. Valari. Lobstergram. Oh, there you are. For he's a jolly good fellow. For he's a jolly good fellow. For he's a jolly good fellow.
And I will be honest, this is the highlight of the movie, as it should be. They're not all hits, but for the most part, it's just a string of well-performed gags at the expense of a bigger jackass than even Flak. So Valari becomes a laughingstock, and Laszlo is hauled off by the police for being a comedy movie villain.
Always remember, nobody likes you.
Our dancing couple is a big hit. Mrs. Oglethorpe can rest easy knowing that she fulfilled her late husband's wishes. And the boys?
Rest assured, my darling, I will never leave your side again.
And that's the end.
Or should I say, the beginning? No, I shouldn't, because I'm not even sure this was the start.
When the Zucker brothers left Paramount right after filming, the studio scrapped advertisement and the movie was in and out of theaters faster than Jacques picking flowers. Which was originally titled Lame Ducks. Because if you haven't figured it out yet, this is a remake of the Marx Brothers movie A Night at the Opera. Yeah, Jacques is Harpo, only twist, he talks sometimes. Rocco is Chico, but twist, he's British instead of, Chico. And Flakpfizer is unapologetically Groucho.
Hi, how's it going? How you doing? You're looking very nice today.
And the duck thing? I guess that's meant to connect back to Duck Soup, an entirely different movie. Even more weird, A Night at the Opera is the first Marx Brothers movie they made after they left Paramount. So the studio remade a movie they didn't own the rights to. We'll show them. We'll make our own masterpiece. With blackjack and hookers.
Now, I'm not sure if pulling the movie's advertisement was meant to be a middle finger to the Zuckers for leaving Paramount, or if someone actually felt that the movie was just bad. I would believe either one.
At a certain point, the unpleasant awkwardness infused in Flakpfizer just seems to spread throughout whole scenes.
I thought you were cardiologists. Oh, well, they're all connected. We enter the rectum and head north.
Why do you think we have such long instruments?
And that's it. That's the whole movie summed up in one look. Nobody acts like this anymore. And it just comes off as weird. And the irony is that these performers are way more entertaining when they're isolated in their own scenes. Nelson is wacky, Smith is charming, and Totoro is energetic. And then everything comes to a halt when they have to pretend to be the Marx Brothers. And I know that seems weird, to accuse actors of pretending, but that's what it feels like. I don't know if it's the fact that the real Marx Brothers had a literal lifetime to perfect their comedic prowess, or if it was just the material they had to work with.
Do you know dogs, Mr. Melanchak?
No dogs. I used to be a chef in a Korean restaurant.
So the question remains, can slapstick be done today? And the answer is, yes.
More examples than you can count, really. There's always some new comedian or comedy trope keeping the laughter alive.
The problem comes from digging up old stuff just to perpetually nudge the audience. Remember these guys?
Oh, sure, you'll get it spot on here and there, but the longer the gag goes on, the more the mimicry breaks down. Or worse, you start mixing your humors and you get something really out of place.
That flimsy corpse carton isn't going to hold that bad mammal jammal.
Only thing that makes brain donors or lame ducks or whoever they are unique is that while others seem to capitalize on namesakes, these guys are like, original characters, do not steal!
Now, don't get me wrong, it's obvious that I have mixed feelings about this film, but it's also clearly a love letter to slapstick comedy.
Only written on a sleazy 1980s comedy club napkin after too much rum and coke. And I don't mean the drink.
Not so fast.
You know, I worry about you, I really do.
Nobody fucks with the Jesus.